Welcome to New God Sunday School. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. There's a pre-order link for the book in the show notes below, and at that same link you can also pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. So today we're talking about The Forever People number 5. In the previous issue, in the very last page, we see the appearance of a new character, Sonny Sumo. We don't really know much about him. This is the issue where he goes into full hero mode. This is his highlight issue. We get a nice introduction to the character, and then we watch him go out and kick some ass. And then there's a surprise revelation that we get in the course of the issue. To oppose the power of evil gods, Motherbox finds the most incredible man on earth, Sonny Sumo. Motherbox was seemingly killed by Desaad in the previous issue using this torture device. Motherbox sought out Sonny Sumo for help. Cover inked by Mike Royer. Looks really nice, really sharp. The black background with the black and gold, kind of a Pittsburgh Steelers look, was the production department, the New York production department. Decided on that. I mean, it is graphically effective, but what Mike inked has like the full background and all kinds of stuff going on. I couldn't find my copy of Forever People number 5, so even better, we're going to use the reproductions of the original art from the Forever People artist edition. So we get the introduction of Sonny Sumo. Now, when Jack Kirby worked at Marvel, one of the guys in the production department who was a letterer was Mori Kuramoto. And Mori would ask Kirby from time to time, Jack, when are you going to come up with a Japanese superhero? Jack never did, at his time in Marvel in the 60s, but when he came over to DC in the 70s, he created Sonny Sumo, and then on the original art in the corner, he wrote a note saying, this one's for you, Maury, and that was deleted for the print version. That was a story told by Mark Evanier. I haven't seen the original art for page 1 of Forever People number 5, and obviously neither were the producers of this book. They weren't able to track down that piece of art. So this one is, just a reprint. This one's not a photo of the original art, and it's the only one like this in the issue. So we get the introduction of Sonny Sumo, and now we get a great Jack Kirby double page splash where Sonny again. It's like a David and Goliath, a motif Jack Kirby comes back to again and again. And why not? It's a great motif, especially for stories of heroism and fighting against all odds. The cover was inked by Mike Royer, but they were still in the transition from Coletta to Royer, and DC was not completely sold on Royer as an inker. So they kept sort of, they kind of kept Vince in the mix. And I think this is the last of the main stories, at least, that Vince inked. He's facing off against Sagutai, which is a robot that, a state-of-the-art robot. And again, so many characters in the Fourth World are showmen, like Mr. Miracle. It's about putting on a show, and for Sonny, it's about showmanship, but it's about something more. It's about like challenging himself and pushing himself to the limit and fighting this giant, extremely dangerous robot against the advice of his management and his support team. Great looking design for Sagutai, and I'd love to see what the pencils look like, because as you can tell by the copious amounts of whiteout around this, this is one of Vince Coletta's pages that he heavily edited and deleted things, and so I'd love to see what the original looks like. It's a little hard, even with this artist editions. Sometimes it's easier to see the erased pencil marks and things, but it's a little harder to make that out in this one. You can see them, but it's, there's, obviously there was something here that got whited out. When I was working on Superpowers, Sonny Sumo was going to play a big role in it. I was going to have sort of this like underground fighting circuit where it was going to be kind of like independent wrestling and kind of like MMA and, a couple of these things mixed together. But what it was going to be was sort of like washed up superheroes and the occasional supervillain who are in sort of this like, fight circuit, not so glamorous, kind of like the movie The Wrestler or something. And, heroes who are kind of like down on their luck. And it was just a way for them to make money by, superheroes sort of fighting each other, from town to town for money. And Sonny Sumo was going to be like one of the rising stars of this league. Jaina from the Wonder Twins was going to meet Sonny. And then later on, I sort of came up with a pitch for a separate series for just the two of them, sort of like a superpower spin-off called Sonny and Sagotai. I always liked the character Sonny Sumo, and for a few issues, he becomes, like a new member of the Forever People. He becomes, and in this issue, he becomes the star of the book. And I always liked the character, but he kind of, once he leaves this story, he's gone, and then the Forever People themselves are gone too, and then that's that. The fight begins. He's wrestling with this giant robot, and then we're back to the Forever People. Desaad has this machine set up where he can monitor what's going on with the various members of the Forever People, and has them connected to this sort of machine that attaches to his neck. As you ordered, I revolved the Psychofuge. Fine. My sensitive fear siphon is honed and ready to receive. Yes, they're filtering through the heightened emotions forced out by jolting stress. To ride those waves is an exhilarating experience. Now, as the images of my prisoners merge, so do the waves of raw emotion. The intensity mounts. So Desaad has a machine that allows him to, by way of his neck, to sort of filter the pain and suffering of the Forever People into this sort of energy that he's exhilarated by, and has this sort of ecstatic experience. And that's the defining characteristic of Desaad and why Kirby is sort of taking aim at. He's taking aim at, people who delight in the suffering of others. And I'm sure, in the comic book industry, he met, plenty of people like that and was just sort of, repulsed by that. And also these are gods, so they sort of embody and, intensify aspects of just, humanity in general. And so also just sort of as a warning, talking about, the tendency towards that everybody has to some degree or another. And, you start with those images of the Forever People spinning around, and then they begin to merge images of their suffering. And then now the images suddenly in the whirling pinwheel of frenzied fear waves, the images of Desaad's other captives blend in to form a horrible, grotesque mass of unrecognizable stress visuals. What can equal this for joy? I find it strange that Darkseid would shun this. I always like when the ways they contrast Desaad and Darkseid. And that's like the difference between Desaad and Darkseid is that the Darkseid, it kind of is turned off by this kind of stuff, but Desaad is like, come on, Darkseid, you'll love it. Now we're getting this blending of the suffering of, all the prisoners of Happy Land, and and it's sort of forming into this like, weird like Lovecraftian embodiment of just suffering, and it reminds me a lot of some of the illustrations that Kirby was doing purely for his own just as sort of artistic statements, images of God and of the suffering of humanity and God creating the universe and stuff like that. These it kind of has a lot in common. There's a drawing Kirby did called, God turns his back on the evils of man, or God sort of being in mourning about the suffering that man causes. And it kind of, has it's a similar sort of collage image to this. And Desaad is in a state of ecstasy. And if this were not Jack Kirby, and if this were not a comics code thing, you would assume there's sort of toxic voyeurism and sadism that you'd assume there's some sexual component to it. He looks like he's in the throes of ecstasy, and even this machine, the way it's drawn, you have the fear siphons attached to his neck, but then you have this sort of collection bag at the bottom. So, not sure what it's collecting. The Desaad toy, the designs for the Desaad toy of the 1980s in the Superpowers line has a version of this, fear siphon machine attached to him. It's very clearly that in the drawings that Kirby did for the toy design, and then they do an approximated sort of like lesser version of that on the final toy, but you can tell that is what they were going for. And so now at the height of sort of the worst of mankind, this guy who just spends his days trying to find out how he can benefit from the suffering of others and enjoying every minute of it, and how to cause suffering of others. We cut back to the story of Sonny Sumo, and he's continuing this fight with Sagutai. And then, he takes a really bad hit to the head, rolls out of the way of these spikes. Just a really nicely choreographed fight scene. It gets burnt, and now, Sagutai says, "Die, Sumo, die," and it seems as though he's about to do the killing stroke. And again, people who are looking for, hey, did George Lucas copy Jack Kirby's New Gods at all? So here's, a scene, and instead of fighting, he's kind of, just going into a very calm stance as he's about to be killed. For a fleeting second, Sonny's scorched face becomes a rigid mask of concentration. Inside him, ancient centuries and even more ancient practices come alive, expand, take hold, and do their work. Then, quickly, the head rises, the face is strong, clean, unmarked by pain or wound. So just through sheer, force of will, he has healed his injuries and sort of, renewed his strength. He's gotten back in touch with the source. Jack Kirby's, referencing meditation, which is sort of, had been sort of in pop culture, not too long before this, very famously with the Beatles. Then, with an almost desperate urgency, Sonny attacks his mammoth opponent. "You fought like the thing you are, Sagutai, but I must end the battle." And just, boom, takes him out. Sonny goes back to the locker room. "Don't tell me what's up. I know. Sagutai got you real good, didn't he?" "Sure, that must be it. Your mind gimmick can't hold it for long. The wounds are coming back. Don't stand there rapping. Get a doctor. Hurry." "Sagutai was good tonight. This won't be easy to heal." "You won't battle an ordinary pro. Oh no, you're a samurai. You gotta have big odds against you." Left alone, Sonny sinks weakly to his knees. He endures what would make others cry out. Small wonder he ignores the stirring in the strange box in his room. Motherbox is going nuts. Ping, 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 ping. Motherbox reaches out for the sensitive mind, links with it, works with atoms, restructures, remolds. And just like Orion's Motherbox does, she puts Sonny's face back together and heals his wounds. Then it's over. Mother has restored, preserved, and established rapport with Sonny Sumo. You've healed my wounds. I can listen to you and understand. Your Motherbox. You sought me out, zeroed in on my mind. And now you need my services, a mission worthy of a samurai. How can I refuse you, Motherbox? Lead on. And so, like Star Trek, they beam up, they teleport out of there. Motherbox and Sonny Sumo grow transparent and fade until they vanish from the room. So we got the introduction of Sonny and an idea of what he's all about. and that he's got some kind of, power that he's fostered within himself, that some kind of discipline that allows him to, calm his mind and heal his wounds, at least temporarily. And now he appears, and he reappears where we left, the various members of the Forever People. He reappears in Happy Land. And so the previous issue, set up the peril and set up the traps and the suffering that the Forever People were helpless in. And now that was the tension, and now we get the release. That the hero has entered, and he's in full hero mode. He shows up in the tunnel. He sees, the skeleton in the cage. That skeleton's funny. He's jumping about like he's trying to break out of his case. But the skeleton can't, because his prison is made of more than earthly glass, because an invisible scrambler has distorted his true image, because he's a captive of Desaad, until the hand appears with the power to break the glass, the scrambled image, and release Mark Moonrider. And I love this little, two-parter where you got the fist raised and the fist coming down, and you have the illusionary image, and then you have the true image as the lying piece of glass, breaks through, and you see the truth. Kind of like a television, I suppose. This piece of glass that creates lies and just tells you a bunch of bullshit about things, and sort of breaking through. They Live or something, or the Matrix. These stories where there's an illusion and there's reality. And then we got Big Bear back at his thing. They think they're shooting at a animatronic bear, but they're really shooting at Big Bear. And now Mark and Sonny, Mark is now part of Sonny's team. Motherbox says we're needed here, so he's in complete communion with Motherbox at this point. She's talking to him, and he's understanding, even though she's just talks in electronic sounds. Big Bear's in here. How can we get to him, stranger? The quickest, easiest way. So Sonny just tears that wall right off of there and rescues Big Bear. I love, the momentum of this. He's just like, ripping through there, rescuing people. Something's wrong. My fear siphon, it isn't functioning. Impossible, sire. To neglect its care would mean to risk your anger. Master, the Psychofuge has come to a halt. Its screens have gone blank. Yeah, just thinking about that word Psychofuge, another one of Kirby's great, names, great sort of sci-fi inventions he comes up with, and he comes up with a really cool name for it. And then the Psychofuge explodes. Guards, there's an enemy among us, an enemy with a damnable Motherbox. Activate all sensors, track down the intruders, alert. So yeah, the alert is given. The stormtroopers are sent out to get them, and we get this really nice close-up of Desaad, and when he's sort of exposed and vulnerable and not, it doesn't have the upper hand. We see his sort of his very strange haircut. Motherbox eluded my executioner in our previous encounter. Now she shall be her own. If I destroy the young Forever People, Motherbox will destruct. I mean, this is kind of great when you show like the previous issue where it was just nonstop peril. They were in such bad straits, and then you sort of follow it up with the issue where we get them released. So now we're back at where we last saw Beautiful Dreamer, and again she's seeing these distorted images on the other side of the glass, which are just ordinary people lining up to wake the sleeping princess by saying the magic word and winning $1,000. Mark Moonrider shows up. Hold it, folks. This exhibit isn't quite ready to open. Try again tomorrow. Sorry. How about that? I'm going to complain to the management. When the crowd departs, easy, beautiful dreamer. I know I look like a monster to you, but hold on. And again, another great two-parter of before, after, and Mark Moonrider's face in They Live mode when you take the They Live glasses off in sort of They Live mode. And I just love it when Kirby abstracts his own designs and creates sort of these evil abstracted versions of it. This is really nice. You get a great one in one of the early issues of the Avengers where he draws sort of evil versions of the Avengers. Beautiful Dreamer's distress in this panel, and then her her relief and happiness at seeing her friend. There, you're smiling. Motherbox has neutralized Desaad's visual scrambler. Only a psychotic like Desaad would subject you to the stress of facing endless fright and horror. The stormtroopers are in full, alert mode. We've got company, friends, and they sound like they're wearing combat boots. Desaad's own core of faithfuls. They'll do anything but anger Desaad. And anything at this point adds up to killing us. Now they're sort of running through the hallways. Very Star Wars-y kind of stuff. It's Seraphin who's probably got the worst trap because, he's responsible for the life or death of his friend Viken. And he has to keep kicking this pedal over and over. And eventually, he knows he will tire. And the time that he is not able to kick that pedal, his friend will be decapitated by a roller coaster, and so this time he's going to keep doing it. I've been at it for hours. Desaad knows that the moment I tire, Viken will die on the following run. He kicks it, Viken goes down, but this time the restraint that he's in just breaks and destroys. Motherbox is at work. My mind is so attuned to her waves, I can hear her without my helmet. Prior to the appearance of Sonny, he was the one sort of most connected to Motherbox, and now that's Sonny. Viken is on his way. He can hear you. In union with your mind, Motherbox can create waves of titanic power. We're guiding him to us. This makes my mind ritual seem like child's play. He's being chased by the stormtroopers. He runs in, and now it's the execution squad. This way, Viken. We must be together at any cost. Very touching, you new Genesis brat, but Desaad wouldn't appreciate it. Fire at my command. Ready to fire for apocalypse. Ready to fire for great darkside. For Desaad, whom we serve with fidelity. Suddenly, the room's lights dim, and like distant rolling thunder, the sound of rising force fills the stifling air. Lower your weapons. Sleep. And they do. In eerie, terrible unison, the killers respond with frightening swiftness, as if that one last word had taken their will and pulled them down. The outside control of the mind, and we've just seen it happen. He has the power. Yes, Motherbox sought out and found the man with the power. This man knows the anti-life equation. This man can control all living beings. I don't know what you're talking about. What's anti-life? Why, the very opposite of living. If someone possesses absolute control over you, you're not really alive. Without independent will, you may just as well be a robot. So this is it. This is what the whole war is about and what Darkseid's been looking for. We've found the mind on Earth that contains the anti-life equation. And we've seen for the first time in this series the application of the anti-life equation. We saw an attempt at sort of a reverse engineered anti-life in issue 3 of Forever People with Glorious Godfrey, but now we're seeing the real thing. And the Forever People are awed and terrified by it. So this is it. This is, Sonny Sumo is the person Darkseid and Desaad have been looking for this whole series. Jack Kirby, he wasn't going to just string you along. This is a pretty big development. And then the Forever People, we get sort of, and we learn, again, we're getting a clearer and clearer idea of what this anti-life equation is. And it's just sort of, spelled out in the most certain terms it's been in the entire series, that it's the opposite of life. It's the anti-life equation. It's a way of controlling people, and that the independent will is what life is about. And without it, you're a robot. And so, Darkseid wants to apply this to the universe and turn everybody but himself into a robot, to serve not their own will, but his own. Yes, you know the equation, but it's hidden deep within your mind. Motherbox helped bring it to the surface. But if Motherbox doesn't fear you, neither do we. Come to think of it, you're in trouble. If Desaad has been monitoring this, you now rate top priority on his capture list. You see, there's a war on, friend. You don't know it, but you're on our side. We should get to know each other. I know how to start. What's your name, partner? The stakes have just been ratcheted up to a fever pitch, and we just witnessed, the anti-life equation, the thing that could possibly bring about an end to all life in the universe, except for dark sides. I'm Sonny Sumo, and I've handled power all my life, but this kind of scares me. Where we're from, the anti-life equation is one among many others, almost as awesome, but they merely exist. Don't you see? It's we who live. Why not just live, Sonny, your way? That's our only objective, to stop the forces that won't let us do just that. So yeah, establishing what the Forever People are about. Okay, I'll buy that. What's our next move? To free the others held captive here and make certain that Happy Land amuses only paying customers. But the enemy is also involved. By telescreen. Great dark side, you saw, you heard.
You know, Desad, I must admit they have a point. We must be what we are. And of course, that's the pity of it. It's the very core of our conflict. To fulfill ourselves, we must kill them, and take Sumo. I want the anti-life equation.
I love this final sales blurb. What happens next will astound you. By George, it astounded even me. And I, Jack Kirby, am much closer to this saga than you are, reader. There's been nothing in comics that's equaled its like. I've seen it, and I'm still shaking. Now you see it. Here it comes. In the next issue, the Omega Effect. And I believe George Lucas, I almost called Jack Kirby George Lucas. I see the word George there. George, and when you see George and Saga so close together, when he says, it astounded even me, and I, Jack Kirby, am much closer to this saga than you are, reader. Like that, I don't think he's lying there. I think Jack Kirby, because of the nature of his creativity and his process, I think he very frequently creates things that surprise him. I think that's part of the incentive for him. I think he wants to surprise himself and entertain himself as much as the audience. And I think what happens in this issue really, he was surprised and delighted and astounded by it. And, now he's got to up the stakes. He's got to come up. He came up with, the end of the world. He came up with the anti-life equation that he's been teasing for issues and issues. Now, how does he top that? And so he comes up with the Omega Effect. And the next issue, like, oh my God, it's a really powerful issue. But yeah, things are just, going, full speed ahead, hurtling towards, what could be the conclusion. Also in this issue, there's a backup, the story of Lonar, which was another character. Again, when I was working on Superpowers, I was encouraged to, really pick through and find, some obscure character that I could focus on. And so Lonar was one of them. I had this idea for a pitch for Lonar where he's kind of like the Indiana Jones of New Genesis, which is not, Indiana Jones hadn't been invented yet, but it seems like that was Kirby's pitch. He sort of is like an archaeologist on New Genesis and investigates these remnants of the civilization that predates the new gods, which would be the old gods, and he sort of studies what's going on and gets into various adventures, trying to learn about their predecessors. A really great untapped resource, like so much of what Jack created. The young gods of Supertown, introducing Lonar. In all of New Genesis, he alone shuns the satellite city and wanders continuously among the natural wonders of the mother world, among the things he's seen and never talked about. Written and drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by Coletta. And this story is kind of a bridge between Jack Kirby's new gods and then the old gods he worked on, the sort of Thor stories that he did at Marvel. And having Coletta along to ink it seems appropriate, as he inked so much of Jack Kirby's Thor work. The characters in, Jack Kirby's new gods stories are, largely outsiders, loners or lonars. And Lonar is kind of like Commandy. He's kind of a proto-Commandy. Similar archetype. There's no record anywhere of Lonar's latest discovery, the glazed pit and the shattered remnant of a once proud city, the unbelievable survival of a small place of the elder gods. Evidence of a violent culture base lies everywhere. Lonar examines artifacts long shorn of their might and magic. Born and bred to violence, thus they died. Interesting that that's like one of the contrasts between the old and new gods is, like violence and war was central to the culture of the old gods, but not so New Genesis. New Genesis, it's about peace. And this is like a real tantalizing bit right here that he finds what looks like Thors helmet. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's, a very specific choice on Kirby's part. Thors shattered helmet. Motherbox activates, but there's nothing yet to react to. This mound of encrusted ash, it seems formed around some central object. This bears closer examination. Can it be possible that some sort of shock could have induced a natural case of suspended animation? There's no mistaking it. Something has survived that ancient Holocaust. And this is his Motherbox. I like that every Motherbox has a different shape and a different form. Perhaps small shock blasts generated by Motherbox will reveal more. But the shocks seem to spark greater eruptions in the dead city. And in the rumble of continuing reaction, the unearthed survivor jolts into life. So what was encased in this, cooled molten rock was a horse of the gods. And Lonar's finally released it. It's a battle horse. I've seen statues of them. Lonar has acted instinctively. He's leaped astride the animal's broad back and rides with the beast. Meanwhile, ancient fires have been rekindled, and what's left of the city dies once again. So, the city of the old gods, suffers a second, lesser Ragnarok. The pit blazes as it did in that last fiery moment of the elder gods, but its two living occupants have escaped. For good or for evil, the world of New Genesis resounds to powerful hoofbeats that once mingled with the terrible sounds of battle. At any rate, Lonar has a living artifact and a wondrous war horse. So there you have it. I mean, a stellar backup story, I gotta say. And again, anytime you delve into the mythology of New Genesis, I'm there for you. And again, introduction of another great character that, we see once more in a backup and then once in the Hunger Dogs, and then that's that. Nice knowing you, Lonar. Although I would happily, create an entire, comic book series centered around him. Next time, we're going to see the Omega Effect, the first appearance of the Omega Effect. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. There's a pre-order link for the book in the show notes below. And at that same link, you can also pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. Thank you for joining me for New God Sunday School.